So right now, the way that I see it, and things I guess will change over time because you do have to only pick one candidate at the end of the day. But the Kennedy voter and the Trump voter, the enemy, our mutual enemy is Biden. Whether you support Bobby or Trump, we all oppose Biden. 270 wins the election. If you don't get to 270, if nobody gets to 270, then Congress picks the president, right? Right now, we have a majority of Republicans in Congress. So who are they going to pick? Who are they going to pick if it's a Republican Congress? They'll pick Trump. So we're rid of Biden either way. People kept continually telling me, wow, that's a really good idea. That's a really good idea. So, I'm kind of mulling it around. What should I do with this? What should I do with this? And then I got a call from the campaign, and, they were going to hire me as their New York State director. And I said, okay, I want to take the job, but I'm going to tell you right now that this is part of my messaging. And if I'm allowed to preach that, if I'm allowed to, get that message out there, then yeah, I will definitely work with the campaign, but I don't want to be restricted in what I say, because I think this is a really winning strategy. And my boss said, well, okay. So right now, the way that I see it, and, things I guess will change over time because you do have to only pick one candidate at the end of the day. But the Kennedy voter and the Trump voter, the enemy, our mutual enemy is Biden. Whether you support Bobby or Trump.
Welcome to the National Newspaper Publicists Association's Let It Be Known. And there you have it. So all this time, this spoiler stuff, this third party run stuff. So a week ago, Austin Cooper joins us.
Morning,
I
brother. How are you?
saw RFK Jr. with people like Roger Stone and other wild, extreme Trump supporters. And it became crystal clear what RFK Jr.'s purpose is, and became crystal clear why his family, the family of the late John F. Kennedy, the late Robert Kennedy, um, the late Ted Kennedy, it became crystal clear why he is in this race, still in this race. Um, and now we see his campaign director breaking it down. They're all for Donald Trump. Austin, we got a few things to talk about this morning, but since we showed that clip, just off the top, um, I sort of rock, for instance, Dwayne Johnson post this long post about regretting endorsing Biden 4 years ago and that he will not do it again. We've talked ad nauseum about the Killer Mikes and the Ice Cubes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Um, what's the Trump has committed so many he's allegedly committed so many crimes. He has done some of the most unthinkable things. But why the hate against Biden?
You know, I really don't get it. I've given this a lot of thought. In particular, how can you hate Biden and not hate Trump? I mean, sometimes I just wrestle with that, just myself.
What's the correlation, though? We know that Trump he spews and
Exactly.
promotes
Hatred.
hate.
He's a mean-spirited person.
Right.
He's vile. He's offensive to women. He's offensive to men. He's not.
See,
He's not
right.
loyal.
Especially when you consider that part, the part that you just said, offensive to women, very disrespectful to women. Why does that fly today when everybody else is canceled or jailed?
I remember when he made the in 2015 or 2016. Regardless of what one's political views were with the late Senator John McCain, Democrats, Republicans, Independents all agreed that this man was a war hero. I mean, how many times did Senator McCain have the opportunity to be released from Vietnam as a POW? Let's keep in mind his father was a rear admiral in the United States Navy under the Johnson administration. and even the Nixon administration. So, and he refused to be released on his own recognizance unless he could come home with his fellow POWs. And when then candidate Donald Trump said that called him a loser for getting captured and said, "I don't like losers," I thought that was the end of his campaign. I said, okay, he's gone. There have been so many gone too fars with Donald Trump that I don't believe there are any more gone too fars. He always takes it a step further. And if I could say something about Robert Kennedy Jr., I've always, even when he started talking, nut talk about COVID, and the vaccine, and I've always kind of tried over the year to give Bobby Jr. a pass. If you know history, you know that on the night his father was assassinated, June 5th, 1968, the senator went down to the ballroom at the Audubon. And as he was leaving with his entourage to go downstairs, his son was sitting on the couch, and the senator asked him if he wanted to come down and be a part of the group. And he said no, he wanted to watch it on TV. So this young man, I guess 11, maybe 12, saw his father assassinated on live television. So who knows what trauma he went through. I know he's experimented with drugs off and on over the years. But now I'm just beyond patience with him. And to say, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No,
go ahead.
To say that he gave an interview and just repeated what his campaign operative that Grid just showed months ago said, that Joe Biden is more dangerous to the democracy than Donald Trump.
Yeah,
it's it's absurd. And part of his appeal is, with some people, thank God not with most, but with some people, there is still that Kennedy nostalgia. Most who are old enough remember where they were when they heard the news that either brothers had been assassinated. His initial campaign commercials were black and white and kind of had that JFK 1968, RFK 1968 appeal. And now he's no longer doing those commercials because his family came down hard on him. But he's useless, but he's a useful idiot for Trump. And in some key states, he can make a difference. He may very well make a difference.
Oh, and you see that plan. The plan is why is he still in the race? Well, the plan is in a Republican-controlled Congress is to prevent Biden from getting to the threshold
270. Yep.
270, and if they're fortunate enough to prevent Trump from or Trump is let me restate that the plan is to get Biden to short of 270, and if Trump is short of 270, then it would go to Congress, and of course the Republican-controlled Congress then decides the presidency. And that obviously goes to Trump, and Bobby Kennedy Jr. becomes the hero to these conservatives. And I want to point out a couple of things. Like Mike V says, it's always interesting to hear Black men in particular say that the country was run better under Trump than Biden, but ignore the Inflation Reduction Act, the Chips and Science Act, the infrastructure bill. And he's 100% right.
Prescription drugs, diabetic medicine, medicine have gone down for senior 100%.
Citizens. You can go on and on and on. Not to mention just not having all of this hateful rhetoric that is spewing every day. We don't see that from the White House, from this White House. Dr. Nicole says mad MAGA people think that Biden is, quote, giving the country away to we know who, which is why they hate him and love Trump. You got to see, and I think we have at least one, if not two, videos this morning from with Jenifer Lewis, the actress from Blackish. And in fact, Dr. Nicole, she goes in on one of the videos, she goes in hard on that aspect as well. We're going to get to that in a moment, but Trump again has reignited his inflammatory remarks suggesting a preference for immigrants from predominantly white nations while denigrating those from Latin America and primarily black nations. He joked about at a dinner the other day welcoming immigrants from quote nice countries like Denmark, he says, Switzerland and Norway. His comments will reveal Maggie Haberman, who I,
Love her, love her.
yeah, it's amazing that she still infiltrates the MAGA folks and she gets all the scoops. But she pointed out that the twice impeached, four times indicted president, he went on this whole thing about nice countries. Let's just get immigrants from these nice countries. And he named them. He says, why can't we allow people to come in from nice countries? I'm trying to be nice, he told this group gathering at his dinner. And we got to talk about these dinner guests, these billionaire supporters. I'm going to name them for you guys. Bobby Henry, I don't see him yet this morning, but he was saying we need to do something about those who support him. Well, Bobby, this was your morning to find out who they are. Maybe you could put them in your newspaper down at the West Side Gazette.
Put them on
But
blast.
nice countries, he says, Denmark, Switzerland. He says, do we have any people coming from Denmark? How about Switzerland? How about Norway? He then goes on to say those from Latin countries, from Mexico and other places, are gang members. They're
Criminals,
thugs.
rapists, thugs. Yep.
Yes. This is the same. This is just like what he referred to a few years ago about
When he came down the
Haiti
escalator.
and
Yep.
African nations, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is who he is, and yet that the question goes back to why does, and it's not choosing sides here. I'm just asking the question: why does Biden get all of the hate, and why do, as Mike B brought out with all that he's done, as you brought out of black folks in general, the Stephen A. Smiths of the world, the Charlemagnes of the world. What is it with Trump? What is it, Austin?
That will be a question that will be talked about it and defined, Stacey, for decades to come. Long after you and I are gone, what was the appeal of Adolf Hitler? How did he, what was the appeal
Who
of,
Trump seems to
the Reverend
idolize,
Jim Jones?
who he emulates.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. The absurdity of this man
Hmm.
just does not, have a good friend. I've got, I'm lifelong Democrat, and in my line of work obviously have to be bipartisan. During the Trump administration, I had to, work with Trump administration officials in order to advance the agendas of my clients. So I get being bipartisan. And I'm also, and not one to say that all Trump supporters are, dumb or uneducated, because I know some really smart people who are Trump supporters. I mean, they just want to protect their tax income brackets, et cetera. And I am not one to, for example, on my Facebook page, to disengage with someone because we have political differing views. I've never once done that. I have a high school classmate in California, a brother, David McAdoo. David comes from a family of five, Democratic family. David's the only one who was a Trump supporter. And he and I go back and forth. And I just don't, don't get it. The flip flop, for example, yesterday with Donald Trump on the whole abortion issue. Either you're for or you're against. It's really
Yeah.
black and white. There's no, in between. And if he wanted to leave it to the states, then you should have left Roe v. Wade in place.
There you go. It's as simple as
Yeah,
that.
I mean, what is so what is so complicated about lying? My dad, used to say to me sometimes, "I think you're allergic to common sense being in the same sentence." And that's what I think of a lot of Trump supporters.
Yeah. Well, According to the Biden-Harris campaign, these billionaires who are supporting Trump are scammers, racist, and extremists. Yes, that's what the Biden-Harris campaign noted about them. And let's list them. Um, like I said, this is, I think, with Bobby Henry in mind. Let's list them. John Paulson is one. He wants to cut Social Security and he has opposed financial regulations to protect Americans after the 2008 crash, which he profited from. Then there's Robert Bigelow, who complained that he couldn't evict tenants out of his buildings during the coronavirus pandemic, and he supports Florida's Don't Say Gay law. Then there's John Catsimatidis, who compared taxes on the wealthy to Hitler killing Jews, and his business has been forced to pay millions in lawsuits over unfair labor practices and consumer safety violations. Then there's Jose Pepe Van Wall, who refused to fire his assistant, who was married to two, not one, but two KKK leaders. And he says, we wouldn't terminate them for that. That was a direct quote. And then there was Jamie McCoy. Now, this person was married to two KKK leaders at the same time, by the way. Um, Jamie McCourt pocketed over 10 million from her stock shares before public citizens were made aware of the pandemic's severity, all while Trump played the virus down. Then there's former GOP Senator Kelly Loeffler, who touted the 2020 election lies and backed an anti-LGBTQ adoption agency and supported ripping away health care from millions of Americans by repealing the Affordable Care Act. Then there's Robert Mercer, who staunchly opposed the Civil Rights Act of 1964, calling it a major mistake and believed that government was backward for helping, quote, weak people get strong. Then there's Jeff Yass, who avoided a $1 billion tax bill and wants to privatize Social Security. Then there's the New York Jets owner, Woody Johnson, who has repeatedly disparaged women for their looks and questioned why the Black community celebrates Black History Month. Then there's the casino mogul, Steve Wynn, who was accused by dozens of workers of sexual misconduct. Then there's the Chicago Cubs owner, Todd Ricketts, who made his money messing over, as Biden campaign says, screwing over retirees by shedding pension obligations and healthcare promises. He opposes the idea that the government can serve to protect the public's well-being. And then there's Phil Ruffin, who fought against housekeepers trying to unionize at his Las Vegas hotel, which is jointly owned by none other than Donald Trump. And he furloughed more than 4,000 of his employees without pay. And that brings us to Wilbur Ross, whom the Biden Harris campaign said made his fortune laying off American workers and using retirees, using bankruptcy, I should say, to strip retirees of their health benefits. So those are the billionaire supporters of Donald Trump. And so it brings me, Austin, it, yeah. And so it, these guys, they are an absolute. What do you say? I'm just gonna throw that part to you before I go to the next point.
I want to say a whole class of people, but we're on air, so I'm going to be diplomatic. It is. I had not seen that list. Always kind of wondered who these billionaire donors are, and now we know. I am appalled by all of them. Particularly those two or three who you named are owners, or co-owners, whatever, of sports teams. And I recall the Jets. I think you said Chicago
Woody
or something.
Johnson, the Jets,
Yeah. These guys have predominantly Black teams playing for them. The many people who purchase tickets to come to their games are Black Americans.
So wait, stop right there. These guys. So we had this conversation, Austin, a long time ago with Mark Cuban about the word owner. See, doesn't it take on a different meaning?
Absolutely.
Does it, when you break it down?
Owner, not manager, owner.
Right, or not CEO. Like you go to corporate
or
America,
not president,
or not president.
Yeah, this it's like a plantation.
Yes. So when they have these
Plantation language.
yes. See, understand this. They don't mind paying these athletes to go out and perform, right? And some of their minds, getting Trump back means that these guys gonna perform for them for nothing eventually.
Hmm.
It's the mentality. Now people say, "Oh, it's crazy." Stop. Listen to Jennifer Lewis.
Stop assuming the unimaginable.
Yes, and with that, Greer, I think we have the Jennifer Lewis, the blackest actress. She shared her views on the state of American political life. She talked about just that on Zerlina's Mornings with Zerlina on Sirius XM. Let's check out what Jennifer Lewis had to say.
Oh, I'll tell you what we've done. We've spent time trying to decide what flavor ice cream we're going to get. Because there are 10,000 flavors.
Right.
We spend half our lives choosing, trying to make a choice on bullshit. What movie tonight? Let me sit here for a half hour. No bombs going off. And we do nothing. We sit on our couches. Oh, I don't believe in voting. You fucking idiot. If that man gets in, as soon as he takes the oath, he will have generals walk down the steps of the Capitol. He will take a hammer and break the glass where the Constitution is, and he will tear it up in our faces. And say, now, I'm the king of the fucking world. You will bow down, bitches. He will punish everybody that didn't vote for him. Let me tell y'all how I know this shit. I know it because I know what mental illness looks like. That mania is unstoppable. See, this motherfucker's Hitler. He didn't come to play.
Oh boy.
Wow.
And then this.
President, do you think he's done enough on those issues, gun control, climate change? You think
what
there's
I know
more
about Biden is whatever he can do, he will do, without those sick, twisted, evil Republicans blocking everything he's trying to do.
And the assault weapons ban, right? That's something you want to see done as a way to minimize.
Oh, listen to this.
Of gun violence.
Look,
is that something that you?
What could harm with a background check? If they're shooting at school, what? Look, when they didn't change one gun law after Sandy Hook, we all should have known we were fucked. Those were white babies. See, I knew this shit wouldn't happen because those were white babies. Wow. I thought everybody loved their children. Now there's another thing. I want to speak to the madness. When they took those people January 5th on that tour and said, y'all break that window, y'all climb that wall, don't worry about that door because somebody gonna open that for you. That's the motherfucker you need to watch. See, I can cuss. All these congressmen and delegates, they can't. But I cuss for the kids because the kids pay attention. So, what they didn't tell them was the quality of the windows in the Capitol are not the same quality as the ones in your trailer. So they didn't know them black to go get a police barricade. Break that motherfucker for 20 minutes while somebody filmed your stupid ass. This is what that was about. Smearing shit on the wall, killing the vice president. And we're letting that shit happen. There'll be a Nazi flag hanging over the White House. And then maybe we'll be happy.
Mm.
Wow.
Uh,
Wow.
First, let me just say this: we don't endorse the language. Mike V says her casual cursing is Barrington-ish.
What did she
Listen,
say? What did she say? I cuss for the children because they
yes,
listen.
listen. Let me say this: Barrington has done much more great things in his life than to be known as cursing, y'all. But Austin, despite the language, she's spot on.
You know, she's speaking. She's speaking. You know, truth to power, and that is, I mean, that kind of, you know, gut wrenching language is what you know, more Americans need to hear in order to understand the gravity of this situation. You know, and let's keep in mind that you know, I want you know, Biden to win. I'm going to do anything I can to get him to win. I'm encouraging everybody to get out and vote. You know, I don't care if you know, Joe Biden gets on television and you know, drools for 10, 15 minutes straight. He still got my vote, because where is his heart versus that of Donald Trump. And if he does get back in, America is still in for some unforeseen times. You know, we are all still traumatized almost 4 years later by January 6th. Next January 6th, if Biden is reelected in November, it's going to be worse.
You mean if Trump is reelected?
If Trump is no. If
No,
Biden,
I see what you're saying.
I'm saying if Biden is reelected.
Oh yeah. Well,
then,
yeah.
I mean, he's already called for blood in the
the
streets.
That's right.
He's already called for civil war. So January 6th, you know, almost 4 years ago, is going to pale in comparison to next January 6th. If Trump is reelected, there are going to be some, you know, America is in for some challenging times because of these right-wing Trumpsters. If Trump is reelected, then as Miss Lewis said, Jenifer Lewis said, brace yourselves, because he's not hiding. He's not talking in code. He's being very direct about what he's going to. You see how they're purging the RNC. We talked about this last week.
Yep.
They're going to start. They want to start doing that for civil workers in the federal government.
Yes. They have stopped with the dog whistles and just start hitting you straight up. This is what we're going to do. This is what you can expect. And they've been telling you this. Now they put themselves in a position, as we mentioned earlier, with the Congress. If it comes down to Congress, Trump has the courts.
Right.
So they've set things up with all of the voter restriction laws and the voter denial laws. They've set this up in a way that you got to shake your head and say, "Wow, couldn't you see it coming?" And for those who continue to say, "Oh, they can't," you got to stop saying what they can't do.
Yep, because they are doing it. They have done it, and they are doing it. You know, Miss Lewis made the comment about you know, Black folks sitting on the couch and saying they see no value in voting. Too many of us, and I'm not going to just, you know, Blacks, you know, across the board, who did not get out and vote in 2016. This man appointed in one term 3 justices to the Supreme Court. There are presidents who served one term who, you know, Jimmy Carter immediately comes to mind. President Carter didn't appoint 1 justice to the Supreme Court. Barack Obama was president for 8 years, And, over a period of 8 years, okay, he appointed 2, should have had 1 more, Merrick Garland, but they screwed him over with that. George H.W. Appointed 1, that no good Uncle Tom currently serving on the Supreme Court. But I mean, again, in one term, this man appointed 3 justices to the Supreme Court, and Roe v. Wade and affirmative action and restrictions on voting rights all came about during his tenure. And these are life-term appointments.
Yeah, and so let's get to this issue too, Austin. I know we're gonna lose Austin soon, so we gotta cover our bases here. So kidney, uh, black folks in kidney transplants. Black folks have been denied transplants because they've been told that your kidney's not that bad. So they wouldn't put them on the list. So at issue, Austin, is this widely used test that overestimated how well specifically black people's kidneys were functioning, making them look healthier than they really were, which kept them off the list. It's an automated formula, I should say, that was calculated the results for black and non-black patients that were far different from those of others, delaying organ failure diagnosis and ultimately proper evaluation for a kidney transplant. The disparity exacerbated existing inequities, with black patients being more susceptible to needing a new kidney but less likely to receive one. And so here they have gotten together, regulators have finally gotten together, and the organ transplant network of the United States have ordered hospitals and care facilities to use race neutral test results only when adding new patients to the kidney transplant waiting list. And then the National Kidney Foundation and the American Society of um, Nephrology told labs to transition to race neutral equations when calculating kidney function. And already this policy shift and adjustments between January 2023 and last month, it has resulted in more than 14,300 black candidates having their waiting times recalibrated and 2,800 successful transplants. So they had this test that was basically biased. Well, not basic, it was totally biased.
Absolutely.
And so now they've decided to get rid of that test. Why would you? Why is there a separate why was there a separate evaluation in the first place?
This is just another example of how deep-seated racism has been and always will be in America. And I want to commend you, Stacey, and Greer for continuing to bring to the forefront on this show the disparities of blacks with regard to healthcare. I've been a part of several discussions where we've talked about black women and the challenges that they go through their respective pregnancies, and doctors not taking their pains and illnesses. And your body. And when you go to your doctor, you need your doctor to be objective and to take what you're feeling about your body seriously and not dismiss you because you're black. So this here is just another example of the challenges of being black in America in 2020. Challenges of driving while black, challenges of being sick while black, challenges of going to school while black, challenges of going to church while black. I mean, it's just it is overwhelming. And why?
Yeah.
That's the question. I mean, you are a medical doctor, you're a physician, you swear, an oath to be not faithful, but to be serious about
Right.
your
That's that
healthcare
Hippocratic oath.
judgment. Hippocratic oath. That's what I'm trying to think of. Hippocratic oath. And how can so many scientists and epidemiologists and doctors be so racist to allow what we have on the screen to to happen
Hmm. And these
to
studies,
to fellow human beings.
yeah,
How many of us don't know someone who's on or hadn't been on dialysis?
yeah, how about that? Yeah. And the thing about it is those studies were reporting that black people had greater muscle mass.
Hmm.
And it turns out that, of course, those studies were deeply flawed, but no one questioned them.
Hmm.
No one questioned them. Um, and Mike V says the black community has a healthcare desert as well. He says one doctor per 10,000 residents with hospitals and clinics closing down every other month. And Power 96 says racism in healthcare is very common. Look at how black veterans receive healthcare, and
Yep.
our
Yep. Yep.
disability ratings
Exactly.
are way lower than white people. And yeah, it's just, and Greer mentions that her brother
Her
died from
brother
kidney
passed away
disease.
from kidney
Yeah,
disease. Yeah.
and it makes you wonder, yeah, he may have had kidney disease, but it makes you wonder, could the doctors, if the medical science, if today's healthcare system wasn't so racially flawed, um would individuals like her brother still be with us?
And even when we have black doctors and black scientists who create remedies for illnesses that are common to everybody, they are still denied. Who comes to mind as we talk at the moment in Black history? Charles Drew, Dr.
Hmm.
Charles Drew, who created the blood transfusion, the plasma. And in a car accident, they refused to take him to the White Hospital nearby, which is using his transfusion and trauma to save people, plasma to save people. Take him to the Black hospital. By the time he gets there, he's deceased. So what he
Unreal.
created could have saved the life of Charles Drew, but racism with the ambulance drivers or whomever, and the hospital officials, you
Yeah,
know,
top to
uh,
bottom.
yeah, yeah, and who knows what other remedy to healthcare challenges that this brilliant man could have come up with had he lived. That would have been beneficial to all people.
Hmm. It's unbelievable. Hmm. Well, Austin, before we let you go this morning, we got to talk about history being made in music. Beyonce has once again proven her dominance in the music industry as her latest album, Cowboy Carter, rides triumphantly to the top of the Billboard 200 charts. The album was released on March 29th, and it debuted at number one. And it's a quite the achievement for Beyonce, and stands as the highest selling album of the year so far with an impressive 407,000 equivalent album units. Cowboy Carter secures Beyonce's eighth chart topping album, solidifying her status as a musical powerhouse. Fans and critics alike, Austin said the remarkable feat reflects her artistry's enduring appeal and influence. And with the latest achievement, she becomes the first Black woman to debut at number one on the top country albums chart. Amazing what she's been able to accomplish with this album.
No, man, good for Beyonce. I did I'm not into country music, so let me just be you know totally transparent.
Yep.
But I did want to support her, and I downloaded her album on Apple Music, whatever it's called, and listened to two or three songs. Um, you know, okay, but I'm just glad that she has thrown the racism that was directed towards her back in their faces, and it's produced probably what it looked like it's going to be one of the greatest country music albums of all time. And again, a common theme throughout this today's broadcast and many of our broadcasts is how prevalent, how prominent racism is in every aspect of life, including the music, the music industry. Country music was created in the Black community. Rock and
Mhm.
roll was created in the Black community. So for folks to have questioned her for even wanting to do a country music album, in addition to her being a country girl himself, born and raised in a small town in Texas, I believe. I'm just very proud of this sister, and wish her nothing but continued success. And I love her, in your face. You and I were talking, last week. I love how people have a talent like a Beyonce and others who, when they're, dealing with personal challenges, are able to turn it around, create something and to make a lot of money from it. You and I got to
Make
do
a
that,
lot of
Stacey.
Well, it marks, it's so interesting because this is her most significant streaming week ever. You think about all of the whole fan base that she has the most dedicated and perhaps the biggest fan base since, and perhaps even eclipsing Michael Jackson's fan base and dedication. But it is her most significant streaming week ever, and it has to be the most satisfying, not because it's her best streaming week, but because again we're talking about it being this country music um, album in which she was really attacked when she did
That's
the
right.
performance in 2016 with the Dixie Chicks, and then even early this year when you heard these uh, racist radio
Yahoos.
DJs say, "I'm
Hmm.
not playing that." Now they are forced to play it. They have no choice. It reminds me of Muhammad Ali when he changed his name to Muhammad Ali, and you had a guy say, "I'm not calling him Muhammad Ali. He's Cassius Clay." And then he got in the ring with Ali, and Ali beat him silly. And next thing you know, he couldn't say the words Cassius Clay anymore. So
I had forgotten about that.
yeah, and so she said that in an Instagram post, Beyonce said a week ago that Cowboy Carter was born out of an experience that I had
Hmm.
years ago
Hmm.
where I
Hmm.
did not feel welcomed.
Hmm.
She says, but
Hmm.
because of that experience, I did a deeper dive into the history of country music and studied our rich musical archive. Notice that, our rich musical
Exactly.
archive. She
Exactly.
says it feels good to see how music can unite so many people around the world while also amplifying the voices of some of the people who have dedicated so much of their lives to educating on our
Yep.
musical history.
How many albums has she sold on this particular album, Stacey, since the release? Any
So
idea?
it's streamed over
Number one?
400,000,
Wow.
and then there was another 230,000 units, I guess sold somewhere. I don't, it's so funny how it works today.
Hmm.
She still doesn't have a big fan in Monique Daniels though. Monique Daniels says it's just because it's her. The vocals are horrible. She says, just my opinion. Give me
That's what
J
Monique
Hud.
said.
Give me J Hud.
But getting back
Listen,
to you
I'm
referenced Ali. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
well, before you say that, I will say this. I don't disagree. So I'm not, I mean, good. I applaud Beyonce. She's at the top of the food chain for sure. But I'm not
Yeah,
that
yeah,
into
me
it.
neither. Me
But
neither.
you're gonna say about
Yeah, you,
Ali?
you remember when at the top of his game, Ali, before fights, would make a prediction on when he was going to knock you out?
Yes.
I used to find that hilarious, and I always imagine being on getting in the ring with him, and I'm like, can you like my daughter's going to be watching. I know you said you're going to knock me out in round one, but can you at least let me get to round two? But he often made those predictions, and if he said you were going to go down in
You were
whatever
going
particular
down.
round, you were going down in that round that he pre-stated. So.
Greer's going off on us. She says, we don't know what to talk about. She says we're probably Scooby-Doo fans. She said
That's
Josie
what
and
Chris
the
said.
Pussycat. Good Lord.
Who do you think would last long in the ring with Ali? You or me, Stacey?
Well, definitely me.
No, exactly. 'Cause I wouldn't get in the ring with him. But how long do you think you would go?
See, it depends on
How long do
what
you
type
think
of
you would
money.
last?
It depends on what type of money is at stake. I had Sugar Ray Leonard on the program once, right? And And I told him that depending on the money, because I would probably go a few rounds with him, and he was like, not a chance. He was telling me I had no chance. I said depends on the money, because here's the thing.
What if the money
Ali
had to do
learned
with how many rounds you're going to last? The
right.
money had to do with you getting in the ring.
I'd get in the ring.
Okay, so I understand you can, but you think you could go a couple of rounds with Sugar Ray?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I probably wouldn't be effective against him, but I would be effective in him not knocking me out.
Oh, okay.
I think I listen. Ray. I still challenge Ray. I told him we could still do this. So listen.
What about Mike Tyson?
He's an animal.
Yeah.
I'll leave you and Mike together on that.
Oh no.
You'll be the sacrifice. He said, Gris says, Austin, I would lose it if someone blacked those beautiful eyes. She said, I can go. So she doesn't want, she wants to protect you and not me. You see how y'all are?
Thank you, Greer. I want to protect me too.
Unbelievable. Anyway, Austin, the Connecticut Huskies won the national championship last night in men's basketball. We were talking about the women's for a week, so I just thought we'd give a quick shout out before you leave to the Connecticut Huskies. They won back-to-back championships. They beat the Purdue Boilermakers last night, 75-60. They went into halftime with a 6-point lead, but dominated the second half defensively, holding Purdue to just 10 points in over 10 minutes of play. They won every game in the tournament, of course, by more than 10 points. And this is their 6th overall basketball title and 2nd in a row. As we noted, they are the first men's basketball team to repeat as champions since the Florida Gators in 06 and 07. Tristan Newton led the Huskies with 20 points. So there you have it, a wrap on college basketball. South Carolina winning on Sunday in the women's tournament, and now the UConn Huskies winning in the men's tournament. Austin, I know you're a big sports guy, so we appreciate.
On another show, I will tell you about my illustrious basketball career, but we'll save that for another show.
He said illustrious too.
Yeah, illustrious.
Wow. And Power 96 says all 10 starters from that game will never see the NBA. Oh, well,
Yeah.
That's interesting. Hopefully they got, that's where these athletes, and this, like you said, this is all for another show. These athletes, they are taking class seriously, because he's right. Many of them will not see an NBA paycheck. There's no question about it. Austin, thanks so much for
always good to see you, my brother.
All that you got going on.
Thank you, brother. I always enjoy starting my day with you and Greer.
Yeah, she's protecting you over me. I can't get over that. I'm gonna be thinking about that all day now, until tomorrow's show. And so you might want to tune in tomorrow. I might have a comeback on that one.
Love you, brother.
Watching. Let it be known, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.